Hello, and welcome to the Mulls on Mission podcast.
Let's go.
Did I leave you hanging there a little bit? You were expecting a little more, weren't you?
I was a little bit.
You got to be ready for anything.
Oh.
Well, I'm Philip, and this is my lovely wife, Anna. And we're the Mulls, and here we go. Are you ready for my question today?
I am ready.
Okay.
Now
you
I'm ready.
Did get a sneak peek,
I did.
so you're a little ready this time.
Yeah.
So my question for the day is, Anna, I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit. What is your best minor brush with fame story?
So I really need a little bit of clarification when you say brush with fame.
So this would be like, okay. Good example would be our soon-to-be brother-in-law. He went to some fundraiser event in South Florida. I think he was in West Palm.
So.
You know, living it up with the big wigs there, and he was sitting at a bar at this fundraiser having a conversation with this guy for, as he says it, like 30 minutes, and then he realized he was talking to, it wasn't John Krasinski, no, it was Zachary Levi. He
Yep.
realized he was talking to Zachary Levi the whole time. So that would be a good, like, minor brush with fame.
Okay.
So, it's not like, oh, this is the time that I was almost famous, but it's like, this is a time that I was close to someone who was famous.
I mean, the classic story, I was born right outside Hollywood.
Yes.
So you
were almost famous, but we're not looking for that story.
I could have been famous.
You could have gone big in Broadway.
Yep, but my parents decided to move
to the middle of nowhere, Florida.
Before I made it.
Yep.
Have
you gotten over
Thank
that
you,
yet?
parents,
Okay.
for doing that, getting us out of there. Yeah. So my parents knew famous people who just were part of their lives because even famous people have lives.
Yep.
And so my classic story.
And some of them even go to church, which I feel like is where your parents met most of them.
Yes, it is. And I mean, my dad was in the music industry, so he also brushed paths with.
I like joking with your dad, telling him he's one of the few who made it in Hollywood doing music because he was able to afford his own place, and his full-time job was music.
Yep.
In fact, I've been telling him lately that he's been going backwards. He started at the top, and now he plays in a small local band that just does little gigs here and there.
The band is great.
It is good.
To clarify,
it's a good band.
It's a great band.
Yeah.
It is a little bit different than a Hollywood or playing for Disney or something. But no. So I mean, my classic example is the day I was born.
Yeah.
The first non-family member to hold me was Jodie Benson. Who I guess apparently filmed the whole thing. I've never seen that footage. I don't think I will. But that is my first day of life. I get to be held by the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, I mean, she would babysit us. Mm-hmm. Her kids would come over to our house, and my parents would watch them. Mm-hmm. Her house was all Little Mermaid stuff, and they had a pool, which in California was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
And we also got to go to Disney with her and the family.
Wow.
I was probably 9. Mm-hmm. She invited us to go to Disney, so we went to Magic Kingdom and Epcot.
Nice.
We got the VIP treatment because she is a VIP.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of my classic.
It's a pretty good one. It's hard to beat that one.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, everything else I'm like, oh, my parents knew this person, but I couldn't tell you who. I did get to meet Francesca Battistelli once.
I don't think I knew this.
Oh, I mean, it was like a meet and greet sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, And I was starstruck because at 9 years old, Francesca Battistelli was like the best singer ever.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't say anything. I was super shy. My dad did all the
Uh-uh.
talking, and he's like, she knows all your songs. And she invited me to sing for her, and I didn't.
Ah.
I could have been famous.
You could have been big.
She might have
You would
asked
have
me
been
to
her
come.
backup
Yeah, she might have
right
asked
off
me
the
to go
bat.
on tour with her.
Yeah.
And that's what I told myself actually in middle school.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like, I might have been a singer with Francesca Battistelli, but I chickened out. And then I never said no to singing for anybody ever again, just in case that would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That's pretty good.
those are my two.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to top being held as a child
By
by.
Broadway star and Disney legend
Yeah.
Jodie Benson.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to beat.
Let's see if you can.
I cannot. So my minor brush with fame. So I don't know if everyone on the podcast knows it, and I'm pretty sure you know it, but I am a pilot, and I can fly airplane.
Did I know this?
I think so. But a lot of little airports have their own restaurants. So we would occasionally, when we were building time flying, we would go fly to an airport for lunch and then fly home. Just because we got to build time. We need some reason to go here or there. We were doing something and we had to fly by the Sebring Airport. So Sebring is like south central Florida, a little bit north of Okeechobee. Not a big town at all. But they've got an airport that's pretty active. There's a company that is based there that builds specialty aircraft. And, it's does pretty cool stuff. So we're down there. We go in for lunch. We get our food. We're sitting there eating, and then I look up, and my roommate at the time is just like starstruck. Like his eyes are wide open. He's like, "Oh my gosh, do you know who that is? Do you see that person over there in the seat at the table right behind us?" It was Harrison Ford, who is known to be a pilot. So he had flown in to the Sebring Airport, and he was having lunch with one of the guys at that company.
Oh, okay.
Who's kind of the guy who runs the company, I guess the visionary for it. So he was probably looking at buying one of their specialty aircraft. But yeah, so he's sitting there at the table next to us, and my roommate is absolutely starstruck. He's like, I gotta ask for his autograph over here. I gotta ask for his autograph. It's Harrison Ford. Oh my gosh. He's like,
Did
Philip,
he do it?
Philip, are you gonna come with me to get the autograph? And I'm like, no, I'm good. What am I gonna do with the autograph?
It's true. You're not big on
I'm not
sentimentality.
huge on, yeah, and it's
or
also like,
paraphernalia from
Yeah.
other human beings.
Yeah. yeah. So Harrison Ford and his people get up and they start walking out, and my roommate goes up behind, and I have to say I have some sympathy for Harrison Ford in this story,
Oh no.
because my roommate walks up and he's like, "Can I have your autograph?" And he just says no and keeps going.
Aw.
And I'm like, yeah, if I was that famous, I would try to avoid people at all cost.
Yeah. Was he okay? So when you saw him,
Yeah.
was he like incognito? Like, did he have the sunglasses and
Nope.
the low hat? No, he was just
I
himself.
think he had a hat on, but
Did he
he was
have an
just in
earring?
normal civilian clothes. Did he have an earring?
Yes.
I did not look that close.
Okay.
I mean, he was sitting behind me. So I'm trying not to make a scene and just like, casually stretch my back, oh, yep, that's Harrison Ford there. Okay. But, yeah, so that would be my minor brush with fame.
Okay. Did it crush which roommate?
This was Christian.
Oh, did it crush his little heart?
He was pretty upset.
Oh.
Like, why would he say no? What a jerk.
Yeah,
it was
I
kinda
think
funny.
I think it's a combination of being famous for your entire life
Uh-huh.
and also being older. You just
Yeah.
don't have time anymore
Yeah.
for things that don't matter to you.
Yeah. Once you've made your money and you're at that age, I I understand, Harrison Ford. If you're listening to this, Mr. Ford, I understand. I
Yeah.
just want to get that out there for the like probably negative % chance that he would ever listen to this podcast. But yep. All right. So those are our minor brushes with fame.
Dun dun da da.
And time for the updates. Anna, do you have any updates for us?
I mean, other than the ones that you've written down.
Yeah, I just this is the the part of a church service, especially with small churches, where it's like, they finish the 3 announcements they had, and then whoever's up there's like, anything that I missed, any announcements that I missed? Nobody, Jerry, nothing, Jerry. Okay.
I mean, this upcoming month is we've made it to April, and April has been a looming month for a while.
Yes, it has.
Because it is my sister's getting married. It's her wedding month. 2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks now.
Yep, less than 2 weeks.
And in hopefully less than 4 weeks, we'll meet our baby.
Yes.
It could be a little longer. I have to keep reminding myself that he might be late, but we are less than 4 weeks away from the due date at this point. And so far, well, no, I guess half of the people that I know that have had babies, they've come a little late. And the other half have come early,
one has come right on time.
One came right on the due date. So
we have no idea.
when
this little one's coming.
But the way I'm feeling right now, I am hoping for sooner rather than later. Is anyone surprised? No. But I think those are the big updates.
Yeah.
At this point,
there's some big updates.
Yeah.
Yep. In other very exciting news, we have surpassed. What does surpassed mean? That's not a word.
You can suppose.
I could suppose. This is why I'm wanting to work the support side of Bible translation.
You can support. You can't surpass. I'm so sorry.
We have surpassed 50% of our ministry budget.
Yay! Yeah.
So we're at like a little over 55% right now. And we've officially been Wycliffe missionaries for a year. So Wycliffe gives you 2 years to raise the full sum. So the fact that we're past 50% bodes well for the future.
And yeah, we are so humbled and so grateful for everybody that has partnered with us.
Yes.
Financially and prayerfully this whole time, because we know it comes from the Lord, but it's coming through
His church through you guys.
Through you. Yeah. So we can't say thank you enough.
Yes. Huge blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that means we're halfway percentage-wise through this whole PD process.
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no, yes.
PD, for those of you new or who don't remember, partnership development is the term, and that the idea is that you're never done.
Yeah.
These are relationships you're maintaining.
Reaching back out, following up with people, seeing how people are doing, seeing how you can pray for people.
Exactly. Yeah. And we love that. The practical side of it too is
as our primary
depending
responsibility.
On how, but also like depending on how long we're on the field.
Yeah.
Some partners may partner with us for a short amount of time, and then when they choose to stop, we'll have to keep going with the team building. So practically
it never ends.
But percentage-wise right now, looking pretty exciting.
Yep.
So
and what that percentage means is once we hit 100, then we can officially be released to our first training assignment, which is going to be North Carolina.
Yes.
Yep. So we are halfway, or a little more than halfway, to getting to North Carolina, which is very exciting for us.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a few questions, just because I would really love part of this podcast to be giving whoever is listening just a visual into the sort of life of people who do what I'm going to call missions work on a full-time vocational basis.
Yeah.
And I use those words pretty loosely because, I mean, I think we would both agree that wherever we are as believers, we are on mission to be reaching out to the world around us and sharing Christ with them through our actions, through our speech,
Through our efforts.
through our efforts, yeah, and trying to redeem the world around us in every way. So whether you are a, full-time business person who runs a business or just works for a business or sells insurance, works on cars, is a nurse, whatever you do, whatever your full-time vocation is, as believers, we're always sort of on mission.
Yes.
So I use those words very loosely. These are the words that have been used,
Yes.
culturally for a little while, but as, I'm going to say, full-time supported missionaries.
Yep.
I would love whoever's listening to just get a little window into what this experience is like for us. What are the, special joys that we get to see and experience, and what are some of the special difficulties or challenges that people in these positions face. One, so that people can understand us better, but two, so that anyone listening could understand other people that they know who are missionaries or people that come through their church as missionaries. They can just understand a little bit of their lives better.
Yeah. And then, too, if any of our listeners are interested in becoming supported missionaries, we want you to have full disclosure on what the process is like. If the Lord's calling you to it, He will provide the way.
Yeah.
And also, we're learning that nobody's story is exactly the same.
Yes, that is true.
It's amazing how creatively and diversely God chooses to provide for His people. So, this is just our perspective on it.
Yes. Yep.
Our experience so far.
Yeah. So, Anna, since we're now halfway through, I guess, this first phase of our missions journey, which is getting the support team and the partnership team that we need, getting those people together, building those relationships. What have been some of the unique joys of this process for you?
Joys that I've experienced through this.
Yes.
Well, one, there is a joy in recognizing that on a different level that the Lord really is the one who provides all that we need. It's a different perspective when you're relying on His provision through other people instead of your own. When you have a job and you're clocking those hours, you feel like you have a little more control.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I think I've been eased into this. I've said this so many times, because I did keep working for a while. I am still sort of working, like, minimal hours, but the idea of relying on God's provision through other people's generosity, through we don't have control over that. And we're learning that more and more as this process goes. It doesn't matter how, it's not that we're convincing. It's the Lord moving on people's hearts. So there has been a joy in that, because there's a freedom in receiving that gift. It's I think it's character shaping
Yeah.
for sure. Um, and I mean, I will be honest, this whole time I've been distracted. Half the year
Mm-hmm.
I've been a little distracted with pregnancy,
Yeah.
and then the other half of the year was process of getting pregnant.
Yep.
So there was always that, and that's I think that's just true. Like your life continues to look like your life,
Yeah.
even when you commit to going on
Mm-hmm.
mission to be a missionary. Your life doesn't, or at least our lives
Yeah.
haven't radically changed and looked super different.
Yeah.
And I think that's been reassuring that we don't have to be different people
Yeah.
in order to be missionaries.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to change our dreams. We
Yeah.
don't have to change our personalities.
Yeah.
Grow and mature and
Oh, yeah.
be shaped, absolutely. But who we are, who we were before becoming missionaries, and after, like there wasn't a point where we had to become missionaries.
Yeah.
So that's been a joy too, is just recognizing that in this whole process we get to be us. We don't have to fill a certain persona. And I mean, I'll probably say this a couple times, but the teamwork aspect, like working with you and present, I've loved getting to tell people about the mission.
Yeah.
Working on it with you and planning, like, how are we going to present?
Yeah.
You know, how are we going to create a presentation to make it engaging enough that people get excited with us? But I think I even put it in the newsletter how much I've enjoyed watching people who either don't have a context for or a limited context of Bible translation, and also have never taken, like, have just taken scripture, like having access to scripture for granted. Like, we're told, you know, the freedom that we have in this country is a privilege, and Bibles are so dangerous other places. But the idea that we might not even have it, like it might not exist in our language, that doesn't cross our minds. And so watching people come to appreciate their own access to scripture and then also desire it for other people, have loved that. That has been super exciting. And just practicing gratitude. That's been something I've actually really enjoyed because it keeps, I mean, it's very hard to feel entitled to anything in our position, because it can be uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
Being this vulnerable and like, we're not getting paid for the work that we're going to be doing. Do you want to help us out? It's an awkward place to be. In our culture, we just don't talk about money, right? So it has been uncomfortable in some sense, but in another sense, it's been beautiful to see people's reactions. No one's gotten offended that we've asked them or invited them to be part of our partnership team. We've received plenty of gracious no's, and those are fine. That was another thing I was like relieved about. I was like, what if I like can't help it and I hold it against them for saying no? No, that has never once happened. And the amount doesn't even matter when people give. The gratitude that I get to experience is a very big joy. Because what I'm receiving is not the finances, it's the gift. And the heart behind it. So what about you? Anything to add?
I think one of the unique joys for me has been my job incentivizes me to prioritize, to set aside time for relationship. Which, just my personality, I can definitely be one who's just like, I have a task, head down, plow through, I'll see people on the other side.
Project mode.
Yes.
Engaged.
That's what we joke Anna's like, "Are you in project mode right now?" And then, maybe 30 seconds later, I'll look up and be like, "Yeah, I am."
It's not a bad mode to be in. It's just very hard to talk
I'm very
to you.
efficient in project mode, but I'm not very relational. So the fact that like I have this incentive structure and structured time of, hey, reach out to these people who are your friends, either have been my friends for a while, or people who we've reconnected with, or people we maybe have met once or twice before, but I get to keep developing relationship with these people. I have found that to be very joyful. Just in the fact of I have like, and again, me and my, I guess, project robot-y brain, I have reminders that'll pop up on my devices to be like, all right, it's time for you to reach back out to all of these people. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love having these reminders to reach out to all these people, and just ask how I can be praying for them, ask how their life is going, what's been up, hey, how's this thing going from the last time we talked? I've really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, so that's been super fun for me.
And we've gotten to meet some pretty cool people.
We have gotten
on
to
this
meet some cool people. Yeah. Yeah. So the relational side I have found to be much more fulfilling than I originally. Like, I didn't even have the concept for this before we joined Wycliffe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Next question, Anna. What has been uniquely challenging in this partnership development journey?
Well, I touched on one thing earlier, I guess the obvious one of there is a level of awkward in just talking about money and the need for money in our culture. We just don't talk about it. I think honestly one of the bigger challenges has been watching you like have ideas and pursue those ideas and then run out of the idea and reach a point of fatigue.
Yeah.
And me not knowing how to help. Because we've talked about, or I mentioned the teamwork aspect and how much I love it. Also, it's hard.
Yeah.
Anybody who's ever done business with a spouse or even with a friend, figuring out those roles was challenging because in my, like, when we first started, I was just kind of waiting for you to just tell me what to do. Which was not good for either of us.
Yeah, because then I'd start telling you to do something
and
that you really didn't want to do or weren't comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Or didn't know how to do.
Yeah. So there would be that. But then there's also, we're equal partners in this, but I'm still looking to you as boss, kind of. You're giving me my tasks and I'm accomplishing them, which I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I picked up on that discomfort until recently.
Yeah.
Just that internal perspective on our roles. And then, you don't really want I didn't want you to be boss when I wanted you to be my husband.
Yeah.
And those, we had to figure out when do we shift from the partnership development, the job, so to speak, and into our relationship and marriage and life outside of the quote unquote job. So that's been an interesting thing that I had no idea about navigating when we started this.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be uncomfortable to talk about finances with people and ask them for money, which in inviting them to partner with us. And I knew it was going to be a little uncomfortable getting in front of people and giving presentations, and it would stretch me. Those were things I expected.
Yeah.
But I think the unique tension that was created when I was looking to you for
Mm-hmm.
my tasks every day.
Yeah.
That was unexpected. And
Yeah.
so thank you, Lord. He opened my eyes to that. So we've been able to
Uh-huh.
address it. I still don't think we've mastered it.
Yeah, we're still figuring it out.
Still
We're still
figuring it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's been a unique challenge. It's hard to see it, just to see you like whenever you're discouraged
Yeah.
or fatigued and I don't know how to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on top of that, those months of not feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first trimester, I'm
physically,
like, physically,
because of pregnancy.
I cannot help you.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're giving me things to do. I just cannot do them.
Yeah.
And then for a little while, it was great. I had the energy going with you on all these meetings and presentations. And now we're at the end, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I can't. I don't think I can go to this next meeting.
Yep.
I don't think I can get up at 7 to go to breakfast at 7:30. So there's been a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
Which I should have expected getting
Uh-huh.
pregnant in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of grace for all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of new relational dynamics that have to be navigated.
Yeah. And I think it was also interesting to realize that the people I felt the closest to,
Yeah.
like those that I had the best like the most rapport with,
Yeah.
the longest standing relationships were the ones I was the most nervous
Mm-hmm.
to bring anything up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, family members. Like,
Yeah.
why is it so hard? That was a unique difficulty. That I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe I do think I know why. Because it's there's more risk.
Mm-hmm.
There feels like there's a little bit more risk when it's people that might, though, because there's that thought they might be offended that I even brought this up, or it might get awkward because they need to say no, and
might change
I won't
our
be awkward,
relationship
but
moving forward.
it might mess up the relationship somehow. And so the relationships that I treasured the most, it felt like there was a greater risk involved.
Yeah.
Even though those people care about us more than somebody we just met. So yeah, that was a weird one. It still is a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're still figuring that out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely been, and I think this is going to be most true, and I've heard anecdotally that it's most true among people who are doing any sort of this missions work in a sort of like technical or support field that's much more like mechanics oriented. Like having gone from a job where I know what each project should look like as far as time frame. I know what it looks like when I am progressing on a maintenance project. I know it should be done in 3 days. It should be done in 2 days. It's going to take me this many more hours to finish this task. And then once I finish the task, I test it, I see it work, and I get that dopamine hit of I have accomplished a thing. And it's very regular and predictable. Going from that environment to we really don't have any set external structure at this point in our lives where I have to be up at this time to be at this place to then accomplish these tasks. It's much more me trying to manage my own schedule, me trying to manage my own life, set tasks, and a lot of those tasks are very relational, which are good, but also relationships don't end.
There's not a checkbox.
There's not a checkbox where I can be like, okay, I have accomplished relationship today. I have, connected with a person today. It's just the categories are very different with what our responsibilities are right now with Wycliffe and what my responsibilities were when I worked a maintenance job. I have found those to be uniquely challenging for me to stay motivated and excited when I don't have that regular feedback in my life of you are progressing, you are learning, you are accomplishing.
Yeah.
That I have found to be a unique challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then too, you've expressed this, and I've felt it too. The hardest part about the progress
Yeah.
is the only quantitative part
Yes.
of this whole thing
Yeah.
is the percentage.
Yes, is the
of finances.
Yeah, financial
that are
progress
coming in.
Yeah.
And while we agree that is not the most important part of our job,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, how we know when
we
we
know.
get to go to the next phase
Yes.
is being at a certain financial point. So that has also been difficult for me to keep squaring in my head of like, okay, the relationships are more important than the finances. You know, if I reconnect with a person who chooses not to partner with us, but I've just gotten to reconnect and potentially stay connected with them moving forward, like that is a win in my mind.
Yes.
A huge win. But at the same time, I have a regular report that I'm supposed to be giving in of how we're progressing on the financial side. So it's just, there's a little bit of conflict.
It's odd.
Within that structure.
Yeah, it is odd. But that's, I think that's another place where trust comes into play.
Yes.
Like, Lord, if you've called us to this, those numbers mean nothing.
Yeah.
And of all the people that we've talked to, that progression of percentage has looked different.
Yeah.
And how they got from 0 to 100% looks different. And so there's no like
standard.
Yeah, there's not a standard progression. There's also, it's, from what I've observed, it's not predictable. It's not like, oh, you should be seeing, about this time in your, after about a year, you should start seeing XYZ. No, that's not the case at all.
Yep.
So, if anybody's listening who's also in the PD journey, we hope this is encouraging to you. From all of the stories that we've heard, there is a lot of diversity.
Yep.
Because the needs that God chooses to meet are going to be different.
Yeah.
In different contexts, and how He chooses to meet them. Also, it's so much more than just, oh, you need money, I'm going to provide you money. It's it's teaching us how to trust Him.
Yeah.
It's teaching us how to rely on other people.
Yeah.
And it's teaching us how to reprioritize what's important in what we quote unquote need.
Yeah. So,
the Lord's a good Father in that He doesn't just throw money at us when we need it. Yeah. He does it very purposefully.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our big updates right now. We will give a little preview. The next episode that goes out is not going to be recorded chronologically. We're recording 2 episodes this month, so that when we get to meet our baby in a couple weeks, we don't have to worry about an episode again.
Yeah.
So there will still be an episode coming out next month.
But if we don't talk about, our baby in that episode, it doesn't necessarily mean he hasn't come.
Yep.
It just means that we recorded this episode early.
Yes, it does. So, yeah. All right, now on to the What Has the Lord Been Showing Us section. So, Anna, what has the Lord shown you through this first year of partnership development? Or what is a thing he's shown you?
Yeah, I think I've touched on a lot of it already, so I'll just try to summarize.
Okay.
I mean, a big thing that I've gotten to practice is trust.
Yeah.
Trusting that the Lord will provide when we need it. And we've never come close to being in lack.
No.
So
Not even kind of, sort of.
Not even kind of, sort of. So, it hasn't felt like a big test at this point.
Yeah.
It's not Abraham on the mountain type of trust. It's, but I think I have learning the value of trust.
Yeah.
And the connection between trust and peace. When it comes to the things that we can't control on a financial basis. Mm-hmm. And then too, I think I've mentioned it a couple times, the way that God's provision is not standard. Mm-hmm. There's not a system that he chooses to follow or a protocol. It is creative and intentional. Yeah. And exactly what we need, not just on the physical needs side of things, but how he chooses to provide it. Yep. Reveals more of his character, our deficit, and shapes our character. Yeah. So I think that's something that I'm realizing. I wouldn't say I've learned it yet, but the Lord's shown me that this is something I will get to grow in. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about that because that is the desire of my heart is to know the character of God. Yeah. So recognizing that how he gives gifts reveals his character, not just that he gives gifts because he is a generous God, but like how he chooses to reveal himself through his gifts. Yeah. Is something that I am very excited to continue to learn. Yeah. So.
For sure.
That and also learning how to be a team player with you. Yeah. That is something that the Lord has shown me, that we are equal servants of his and can be used differently, but of equal value. Yep. So that is something else that the Lord's been showing me on this PD journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, I would say for me it's along the same lines. There's definitely a lot of giving up of control, or the feeling of control, that I've been learning, especially in, I guess where God's been challenging me is in prayer. I have a tendency to want to pray, like not want to pray unless I know I am praying the exact right thing. And I feel like God's just been challenging me over and over again to just pray. And I'm gonna say this in like if I told you to write a paper, I'd say, you're like, I don't want to write unless I'm writing the best paper. And someone's like, well, then write a bunch of bad papers, and eventually you'll figure out how to start writing. I feel like God's been challenging me, pray bad prayers. Prayers that you would look back on maybe and be like, oh, I have theological disagreements with the way that prayer was formed or delivered or offered up to God or whatever. But just in like, my prayer is bringing a request to the Lord, or hey, Lord, I'm struggling with this right now. If it's a lament prayer of, Lord, I am, mourning this change in my life of, I had a job that felt really rewarding, and now I have a job that I'm struggling to find some of the motivation for. So whether it's something like that I'm bringing to him, or Lord, we are requesting that you help us get to the budgetary point that we need to be at in order to go to the field. All of those, like, just like in any relationship, I don't have the ability to dictate what God does. It is all request. It is all, I am vulnerably offering my words or my request or my heart to him for him to do with what he wills. And for me, I usually don't like to give effort unless I know it will work out or there will be fruit from it. So even in prayer, even though it's pretty low effort to pray, emotionally it is effort to pray and to bring yourself before the Lord over and over again.
Yeah.
To be like, all right, Lord, here's the thing. Either tell me how you want this to go or help us get to this point or whatever prayer I'm bringing. I just feel like he's been challenging me, like, it doesn't matter how grand or well worded the prayer is, the relationship is that I bring request to him and he can choose to do what he wants to do with that request.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where he's been growing me and challenging me lately.
Yeah. Can I add to that?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you can add to that.
Because I can't believe I didn't remember this earlier, but along the same lines, the Lord has been showing me inviting me to pray bold prayers. To ask for exactly what I'm asking for and not beating around the bush.
Yeah.
And he's used some interesting analogies. He showed me how annoying it is when someone beats around the bush when they want to ask something and they use a whole bunch of words when they could have just said, hey, can I have one of your cookies?
Yeah.
Instead of this whole roundabout way of doing things. And the Lord has kind of shown me, hey, don't do that in your prayers. Well, if it's your will, God, and if it, falls into your plan, and if it, if, then will you please do this? It's just, Lord, this is on my heart to ask, and I want to submit that to you. The other image that he gave me, and that I use all the time with little kids in my professional life, but also like babysitting, playing with my nephews, watching kids at church or in aftercare or something. These little kids that they'll gesture or they'll they can't, but I know they can use their words.
Yeah.
I want to give them, I know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
I know what they need in that moment. Oh, look, you're having a hard time with your shoes.
Yeah.
I know you need help tying your shoes. But for your sake, I'm not going to do that until you ask.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's been a lot of times where the Lord's been like, just ask me.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is, but I'm going to wait until you ask me.
Yep.
For the sake of our relationship and for your sake as as a child. But yeah, that praying direct prayers.
Yeah.
And boldly.
Yeah.
But it's not like a calling down from heaven. This is what I expect from you, God. Not that kind of boldness. But on the prayer side of things, like we're just so very careful.
Yes.
And I feel like the Lord's been inviting me to, and it sounds like you too, like you don't have to be careful with me.
Yeah.
On the sense that, your words need to be exactly right.
Yeah.
Just come to me.
Yeah.
Just talk to me as your father. I love you. Yeah. And the careful, I think, needs to be where our hearts are at.
Yeah.
Not in the words that we use. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just thought I'd add that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate everyone who listens.
Yes.
And, we look forward to talking to you guys again.
Bye.
Bye.